First supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable President, you're the steward of South Africa. And despite your so-called wish that your cabinet would be smaller, it has grown like topsy. You didn't cut any of the ANC positions, you just added GNU Cabinet. You have recently appointed, I need protection.
Order, honourable members.
Honourable President, you recently appointed an acting Minister of Police who incidentally says there's no such constitutional provision. He's the Minister of Police because you couldn't promote two of the deputies. You didn't trust them to become ministers. You also fired the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry and Competition 75 days ago, and that position still remains vacant. These two examples illustrate just how insignificant and redundant these positions are. Stewardship, Mr. President, is well explained in the book of Matthew, where three of the minister's servants were given 10, 5, and 1 bags of gold to look after. Two of them increased the value of what they were given, and they were rewarded. One buried what they were given and was rebuked. Why are you burying what you've been entrusted with by maintaining such a costly, bloated, and ineffective cabinet? Will you and your party support my private member's bill, constitutional amendment to do away with deputy ministers so that the cost of these redundant members can be redirected to the betterment of our country? Simple question. Will you support it? It's coming. Will you support the private member's bill? If you want a smaller cabinet.
The Honourable President, Honourable Trollip, your time has expired. The Honourable President.
You know, guys, I don't know why ActionSA continues to waste time on this matter, because Ramaphosa has already told them that he is not going to get rid of the deputy ministers. He told us. You remember Fikile Mbalula told us during that time where we were debating about the VAT hikes. You remember that the Democratic Alliance, before all of these political parties actually took their proposals to the ANC, the DA is the first political party to take their proposals to the ANC to say, guys, instead of raising the VAT taxes, why don't you guys cut here and here and here and here? And Fikile Mbalula told the DA, and he told the South Africans that no, the ANC does not believe in cutting. We hear the DA is telling us about cut, but the ANC does not believe in cutting. So why is ActionSA continuing to talk about this issue? Because Ramaphosa has already let them know that he is not going to cut the deputy ministers, despite the fact that this guy has a bloated cabinet. And this cabinet of Ramaphosa is costing South Africans a lot of money. And this is one of those issues that people have been talking about for a very long time, that Ramaphosa, man, you need to do something about your cabinet because your cabinet is much bloated. And as the people of this country, to be honest, we don't see the value that you guys are bringing to us. We don't see the value of having you guys, a lot of you guys there, enjoying the blue lights and all the perks while the country is crumbling. But Ramaphosa made it very clear. So why is ActionSA continuing to talk about this issue?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. What Honorable Trollip is saying sounds like a threat. So my response to that, rather than say I don't respond to threats, is the following.
And when you look at the ActionSA and the bills that they have been proposing, I must say that they are quite interesting, man. We have to give credit where the credit is due. Because not so long ago, ActionSA was talking about a bill that they are going to propose, and this bill is going to force the politicians to use the public healthcare facilities. And now they are talking about this bill that is going to make it possible for Ramaphosa to get rid of these deputy ministers. I must say that these bills that ActionSA has been coming up with are quite interesting. They're quite interesting.
So my response to that, rather than say, I don't respond to threats, is the following. My response is, I would really like to look at that bill. I think, please have the bill forwarded so that we look at it. I'm not able to respond in any way whatsoever until I see the contents of the bill. Now, therefore, much as I said, it sounds like a threat. It isn't a threat. No, I want to actually compliment you and say, I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a very meaningful contribution because you are concerned, as I am, of the size of our executive. And
Ramaphosa says that he's concerned about the size of his cabinet. Ramaphosa says that he's concerned.
full contribution because you are concerned, as I am, of the size of our executive. And the size of the executive we now have is a result of the outcome of our elections, where we had to put together a government of national unity with 10 political parties that sat down and negotiated the structure of the government we have. Now, whether we like it or not, it is what we have. Ideally, Honorable Trollip, I would want a much smaller executive. I would also like fewer deputy ministers. But right now, we do have deputy ministers who are really putting wheel or shoulder to the wheel, who are going even beyond what I would call the call of duty. And those deputy ministers are distinguishing themselves as real contributors to our governance. And what I also really am appreciating is the fact that many of our deputy ministers are working so well with their minister colleagues. So,
Order, honorable members.
I mean, like ActionSA, there's your answer. There's your answer. The guy says that I would like to look at the bill, but the truth of the matter is that Ramaphosa is not even interested in this bill. The ANC have lost the elections, and instead of the ANC losing the people in the cabinet, Ramaphosa has found a way to make space for the comrades so that the comrades can continue to eat. So Ramaphosa is not even going to look at that bill. The reason why I'm saying that Ramaphosa is not even going to look at that bill is because the guy, he has addressed this issue back in April, I think. A long time ago. He has already addressed this issue. You remember Musa Maimane was making a lot of noise about the deputy ministers and how Ramaphosa needs to get rid of these deputy ministers so that he can save a bit of money instead of increasing the tax. Instead of increasing the tax. Ramaphosa did address this thing. And on this article, that was released back in April, it says that President Cyril Ramaphosa has rejected the calls to downsize his executive cabinet, which consists of 77 members, including 43 deputy ministers. There's your answer. President Cyril Ramaphosa has rejected the calls to downsize his executive team, which consists of 77 members, including 43 deputy ministers. Ramaphosa maintained that deputy ministers add value to the work of the government. He was responding to the EFF MP Ompile Maotwe when she asked in Parliament's questions whether the positions of the deputy ministers are necessary amid the prevailing financial pressures the country is faced with, and whether he intends to reduce or eliminate the deputy ministers' positions. In his written response, Ramaphosa said deputy ministers have played an important role in assisting ministers in the performance of their functions and responsibilities since the advent of the democracy in 1994. Quote, in portfolios with a wide range of responsibilities, deputy ministers are given their responsibility for certain areas of work in terms of departments' annual performance plans, ensuring that there is a consistent political attention and oversight. Ramaphosa also said when he announced the executive consisting of Deputy President Paul Mashatile, 32 ministers, and 43 deputy ministers after the May 2024 elections, it was not possible to reduce the number of portfolios in the cabinet. There was a need to ensure that the executive was inclusive of all political parties of the government of national unity. Quote, we have sought to ensure that the national executive is the representative of the people of South Africa, giving due consideration of gender, youth, demographics, and regional distribution. Quote, the deputy ministers appointed in June 2024 continue to add value to the work of the government and to support in a meaningful way the implementation of the priorities of the 7th Democratic Administration, Ramaphosa said. Finance Minister Inoko Godongwana previously revealed that the budget allocation for the ministers and deputy ministers amounted to 239 million in 2025-2026 financial year, a figure that includes salaries, support, and staff costs, official vehicles, and goods and services. Here we are talking about the PACs. They are talking about the goods and services. So calls to cut cabinet costs have intensified, particularly from ActionSA and Build One South Africa. Build One South Africa leader Mmusi Maimane proposed a plan this week to generate 180 billion in savings, suggesting doing away with the deputy ministers, and this will save 3.9 billion in the medium term. The party previously said abolishing deputy ministers' position would reduce the cost for about 500 million annually. Meanwhile, ActionSA parliamentary leader Athol Trollip said recently that his party will introduce what it calls a cabinet reform package, a legislative proposal designed to eliminate 1.5 billion annually on the bloated executive. Trollip said one of the key proposals was a constitutional amendment to abolish deputy ministers. So Ramaphosa has already answered this question. And after losing the elections for the ANC, there was no way that Ramaphosa was going to allow the comrades to starve. So he had to come up with a way to have a bloated cabinet so that those people that were still eating in the ANC, the number of people that were still eating from the ANC continues to eat, despite the fact that the ANC has lost the elections. So this was the plan for the ANC. This is the reason why when Ramaphosa came and announced his cabinet, the DA was shocked. And they were shocked when Ramaphosa was announcing his cabinet. They didn't know that Ramaphosa was going to unbundle some of the departments. They didn't know that Ramaphosa was going to have 2 deputy ministers in some positions. They didn't know of any of this. And I can say this was the work of the ANC. It was the work of the ANC. So when you ask Ramaphosa to get rid of the deputy ministers, you are asking Ramaphosa to get rid of the comrades. And there's no way that Ramaphosa is going to do that. There's absolutely no way that Ramaphosa is going to do that. And it's quite worrisome because right now, these people are talking about the GNU and reconfiguring the government of national unity and inviting other political parties in the government of national unity. So all of those people that have their jobs right now, they are not going to lose their jobs, but the president is going to find a way to squeeze some of these new people in. Maybe the likes of Mmusi Maimane, man, they might find themselves in the government. And and Ramaphosa is not even going to fire a single comrade to make a space for Mmusi Maimane. No, he's not going to do that. He is going to find space for Mmusi Maimane. This is the reason why there's a conversation of reconfiguring the government of national unity is quite worrisome, because it might cost taxpayers even more. So, ActionSA, you guys are just wasting your time. Ramaphosa has already answered this, man. What are your thoughts, guys? Please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like button. And the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.